Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pro Wrestling Power Hour. I am Jordan, as always, and I welcome you to, first of all, our brand new format, and to my friend Luke. Hello, how are you?
Yeah, not bad. Tired, but standard fare.
Yeah, I'm also tired. Had a bit of a crazy week, some personal stuff to deal with, and then some stuff happening where I live. So things have been very busy for me to the point where I haven't actually been able to watch all of the wrestling this week, which is unusual for me. This doesn't happen very often. So yeah, I've watched AEW because we cover AEW every week, as people know, Dynamite and Rampage, and we also cover NXT. We are now doing that in one video rather than two separate videos per week, just because time-wise it's a little bit easier for us. And we're going to wait and see what happens with these videos because we do enjoy doing them, but right now we're very busy people and we don't know whether we really have the time to put in to them. But yeah, Luke, let's start with NXT because you're actually on your own with this one because this is the one that I didn't manage to get to.
I mean, you missed a banger, to be honest.
Okay.
Okay,
so
all
take
the
me
matches
through
were solid. Well, say all the matches were solid. We'll get there. So this is kind of it's the last show before all the changes happen.
Yes.
But it doesn't feel like it. It just felt like a solid NXT. So they kicked off with Ember Moon versus Kaylee Ray. Like, this match was dope.
Wow. Okay.
Very, very good match. Kaylee Ray obviously picked up the win, but it was honestly, it was a fantastic match. It's one of the best women's matches that's happened in the last. I can't honestly think of one that's been better than this in a good while. It was very good match.
Wow. Okay, high praise.
Shows off how good Ember Moon just is. And she's just not being used. She's teasing that something's going to change and that maybe it's a new character or maybe she's going to turn heel. Who knows? Hopefully we'll find out soon because I'm a big fan of Ember Moon now. And it also showed off how good Kaylee Ray is. It was just a solid match. I can't recommend watching NXT even if it is just for this because it was a hell of a way.
So it's an episode worth watching, is what I'm hearing so far.
Absolutely. So we started off with that. Just it was so good. Such a solid match. I wasn't really expecting it to come out of the gate and just be as competitive as it was. I hoped it would be because I was really hoping Ember Moon didn't just get like a squash.
Yeah.
Or get squashed rather. But it was so good. It was such a good match. I always knew Kaylee Ray was going to win it because obviously it'd be a bit stupid if you're going to be like, hey, she's going to go up against our champion soon. Oh, she lost on her first match.
Yeah, you don't do that.
You don't carry and cross her, as we're going to start calling that. But it was such an evenly well done match. It was genuinely an incredible start. Such a good match to kick off. And it just makes both look strong. It makes, Ember Moon hasn't had a lot to do, and they made a point of pointing out that since losing the tag titles, she hasn't won a match.
Wow, okay.
And they're playing into that, and that's kind of her story arc in a minute. So I'm really interested to see where she goes with that, whether it is a character, whether it's a heel turn, whether she gets more vicious. Who knows? But
yeah, sure. So what did we have following this match?
We had Santos Escobar versus Carmelo Haynes. So obviously Escobar comes out with his boys, and I forgot her name, the new lady that's joined them.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
Elektra Lopez. So yes. Elektra Lopez. And again, this was a really good match. It wasn't as good as the first match. This was a good match. It showed off again how good Carmelo Haynes is. We obviously know how good Escobar is.
Yes,
he's fantastic. I'd love him to just move up the card I would love for him to eventually be in that world title picture because I think he's fantastic. We the I'm a bit torn on the end of this match because Escobar wins.
Okay.
So even though Hayes has a title opportunity at some point when he wants to, whichever title he's gonna go for, it seems like it's North American title probably.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of made him look a bit weak because he lost because Electra Lopez body slams him on the ramp on the outside.
Oh,
So
wow.
while
Okay.
Joaquin Wild and Raul Mendoza distract the referee, she just picks him up, slams him down. She looks strong.
Yeah.
She looks powerful. And then Hayes gets put back into the ring. Escobar hits his finish and they win. Overall, the match was very good. I don't think the ending did Carmelo any favors.
Okay.
It did Del Fantasma favors because it
Mm-hmm.
makes them look strong and makes them look more cohesive with this new addition.
But then maybe that was the point of this match. You know,
No, sure, but when you've got
sounds very
someone,
much like that was the case.
it is. But when you've got someone that's got a title opportunity, you also don't want to make them look a
Too
bit
weak, right? Yeah.
Which, you know, he's very young. He's very early into his career here, so maybe it's not going to hurt him. But hey ho. We then got a little backstage bit with Hit Row, a pre-recorded thing, which again was good because Hit Row are great. It doesn't look like the feud between the two parties have finished. Still looks like they're going to continue.
Good. I'm glad about that.
Yeah, I do wonder
I
if
quite
that
enjoy the
means
feud.
hopefully Escobar wins. Because as much as I love Hit Row, I do want to see Escobar with gold around him again. I think he's great. And I think he could be a top guy there. Next up, we had the two newest members of what's that stable called? Diamond Mine.
Mm-hmm.
We had the Creed brothers versus two people.
Yeah.
They absolutely killed the local competitors. They did just murder them. Absolutely murdered them.
You always know that's going to happen when you see local competitors, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They look solid. They look solid. One's called Brutus.
Oh wow, okay.
But they are not to be fucked with. They look solid. This was a squash match, but it was a good one. We also got Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell's bachelorette party, which was quite fun because it was just kind of a bunch of kind of random people. You had who was there? Yeah, one of the interviewers whose name I don't remember off the top of my head. You had oh damn it, what's their name? They're in a match later. Catanzaro and Carter were there.
Okay.
And there's just like a couple of little bits. But the whole kind of point of it was I've invited these random people because you don't have any friends. And Indy doesn't care. She's just like, ha, awesome. Thanks for coming. But towards the end of this, Dexter and Johnny are both out on Dexter's bachelor party. And the girls are like, I wonder what they're doing. And Candice is like, well, I still have all that spy hardware for, spying on people. So we could just go and spy on them. So they tease that that's coming a bit later. But I like these things. They're stupid and they're fun.
Yeah.
And it builds nicely. But yeah, just a bit of filler, but it was good filler. It's not bad filler.
Yeah.
It's the sort of variety you want.
Yeah. Filler isn't always bad, right? Like and we often talk about
it's not pointless filler.
We often talk about filler in our video game discussions as well. But sometimes filler does add something to a product, and I think that's true of many different types of products.
When there's a point to it, and there was in these both achieved things, we get the bonding and the importance of the Candice LeRae stuff.
It adds some character development, right, to these characters. So
absolutely, and then like the match
way of doing it.
The match put over how relentless and disgustingly brutal the Creed brothers look. So all pretty good stuff on the whole.
Okay.
Next, we had the NXT tag titles, which probably should just go away because there's one NXT team really, and they lost this match. So Io Shirai and Zoe Stark versus Katie Catanzaro and Miss Carter. Again, there's only one tag team, and they're the ones that lost the match because Shirai and Stark won. It was a very good match, in fairness. The match was great. They keep playing on Io and Zoe not really liking each other and refusing to tag each other and stuff like that, which is where Catanzaro and Carter controlled the match. But eventually Stark and Shirai kind of got on the same page. And then they hit a finish. They picked up the win. However, Catanzaro and Carter were walking up the ramp after they lost, and they get attacked by Gigi Dolan, JC Jane, and a new masked Mandy Rhodes, who I feel like is probably just going to be the female version of what Cody Rhodes did a while back.
Probably.
Which I'm for. That was a good character. I think if if done right, she could pull it off. But again, it was a really, really solid match. These, you've got 4 really good competitors.
Well, do you know what this is? This is one of the main things that I like about NXT is that even when it's not necessarily something you really care about, the match is always solid enough, or at least 99% of the time, it's solid enough that it's like, okay, I still enjoyed that. I still got something out of that. It wasn't just like a throwaway, not interesting type of thing.
I think it's a difficult one to get invested in anyway in these women titles when there are no teams.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, hopefully they'll build some teams, but the problem is that takes time, right?
It does, or hire some women's tag teams. They're out there. They exist. But yeah, the match was great. The match was very good. I don't think the win was in question. I would have liked Catanzaro and Carter to win because, much like the Riot Squad before it, they're an actual team in a division of no teams, just random people put together.
Yes.
But then we do have like this Mandy Rose group that I don't know, maybe. But no, again, very, very good match. Some good character work. I'm just kind of curious what they're going to do with Mandy Rose.
Yeah,
because the mask stuff has worked for loads of people before. Obviously, Cody being the standout one.
Yeah,
and she is someone who, like they put over a few weeks ago, how she's built her career on her aesthetics, her looks, stuff like that, and now that's taken away from her. What is she?
Yeah,
so.
That's an interesting dynamic there, to take that approach, especially with a female wrestler. I think is actually quite a clever one, because if I'm not mistaken, in terms of female wrestlers, we have never seen the mask used before.
Not quite in this way. We've seen masks pop up when someone actually gets an injury. Like Becky Lynch, I think, wore one very briefly. I think Britt Baker wore one very briefly, but it was never like part of a storyline, because this isn't for an actual injury. This is pure storyline purposes.
Yes.
Speaking of masks, we'll go with it. We got the in-ring debut of Mei Ying.
Okay. I was interested in this. I obviously haven't seen it yet.
I was not. Mei Ying versus someone called Virginia Ferry, who I've never seen before.
Okay.
It was a squash. She didn't really do a lot.
As to be expected.
Yeah. She was the least interesting part of that group for me. I was far more interested in Boa and Xia Li and the transformation they went through. Xia Li? Is that right?
Yeah, I believe it.
I haven't seen her in so long. I forget her name. I don't know. It was a squash match. She hit a jewel breaker or she got hit with a jawbreaker, sorry, that just did nothing. And then she used what looked kind of like a mandible claw, or that thing that Kane adopted for a bit, where it just squishes your face.
Okay.
And she won. It was a squash. Regal also announced a fatal four-way to crown the number one contender for the NXT Championship, which, as of today, as of yesterday actually, has changed because Samoa Joe picked up an injury and has had to drop the title. Yeah. So that is now a championship match for the first new episode of NXT.
By the time you're seeing this video, you probably know who the new NXT champion is, because that match is taking place on NXT,
I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure, because I think either any of the four, I would really like Ciampa to get it back.
I've got a funny feeling they're going to go with LA Knight.
Me too.
I've got a funny feeling, and I'm not disappointed by that.
I wouldn't be disappointed, but maybe Kyle O'Reilly is the only one I actually don't want to get the title, because I don't think
character-wise he's not there at the moment.
I think in ring he's fine. He's obviously very good in ring, and he's continued to be. Yeah. But his character is just a bit crap at the moment.
I've got a question for you, just as a quick aside on this Samoa Joe injury situation and whatever, because I have been wondering, do you think it's fake just to get the belt off of him because of the new NXT?
No.
Okay, interesting.
No.
Interesting. I just wondered because it seemed like a weird situation. Do you know what I mean?
The way it was announced was weird. Like, it was just announced on Samoa Joe's Twitter, and then they went from there. I don't know. I don't think so. But again, it could be to build, the way they were just like, oh, Big E's gonna cash in his Money in the Bank all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Even though we've been teasing somewhere else.
Congratulations to Big E. They are they are in order. We don't often speak about main roster here, but when it's something,
it's very
like
rare
that,
they do anything good.
When it's something like that, then they deserve it. I think they played that pretty well. They sort of announced it, and then they teased that maybe it wasn't going to happen, and then they built it up through the night. And for Big E to have that moment, it was one that he deserved. He's worked very, very hard for many
apparently
years.
It was meant to happen during the draft.
Oh, okay.
It was meant to happen in a couple of weeks' time, but they pulled it forward because ratings.
Yeah.
Which,
they pulled it forward because Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, it could be a similar situation here.
Yeah.
I doubt it, though, because I don't, if I was Samoa Joe, I'd be pissed.
For sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I kind of doubt it on this one. But
for sure. I'm not sure.
It does help. It does add intrigue.
What I'd like to say about Joe is, if he is actually hurt and it's not just a storyline injury type thing, then I hope that he makes a quick recovery and that we can still see him wrestle again. Yeah. And then if it is something that's being done because they want to take the product in a brand new direction, which wouldn't surprise me with everything we've heard. That's also okay, I guess, but it's just a bit weird because it's like, why put the belt on Joe in the first place if you know that 3 weeks later you're going to do this? So I suspect, like you, that it is a real injury, but there is a little part of me that wonders.
It could just be where they were backed into a corner because Cross was going to the main roster.
True.
His aura was dead, so they had to get the belt off of him.
Yeah, maybe.
We also got the announcement that Frankie Monet was getting a NXT Women's title match for this coming week against Raquel Gonzalez, of course. So even more reason to tune into that one. Possibly new women's champion and a guaranteed new NXT champion.
I mean, as expected, they're going quite big on this first episode of NXT 2.0, right? Even though technically it's NXT 3.0.
Probably like 5.0 by this time, but sure. Well, I mean, yeah, because the women's title was predetermined. That was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
The Samoa Joe thing, it seems a bit last minute. So
yes, yeah, for sure.
Coincidentally, potentially, but either way,
I am really intrigued to see what this new NXT looks like, and
apparently it looks very Dynamite. There's a lot of colors. There's a lot of
okay.
It looks, instead of like paintballs exploding, it looks like paint's just been splattered, sort of thing. So it's Dynamite-esque.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Kind of see what you're doing there, WWE. But anyhow, the main event was the NXT Tag Team Title match, and MSK versus Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch. And again, this was a good match. Very good.
I was going to say, I expect that this match was very good because these teams are great.
Yeah, no, this was solid, and it was another one where I was certain that MSK were going to win, but as the match went on, there were a bunch of like, oh, maybe not. Just so much happened in this match. MSK did pick up the win in the end. And as they left the ring, Dunne and Holland came into the ring and took out Burch and Lorcan, which I don't like, because I think they were very early as a stable, and I think they were cool. I like them as a stable. So to already get rid of Lorcan and Burch, bit of a madness for me.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen this go on a bit longer, because obviously, you know, they've got Legado, they've got Hit Row, but they're quite mid card. You know, that's literally where they are. They're in the mid card.
Yeah.
Having this cool new predominantly British stable of just absolute ass kickers was a very cool thing, and we'd seen very little of them. We'd seen them talk a little bit, and we've seen them in a couple of matches.
But I think that was quite clever.
I don't like getting rid of them so soon.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen more of them, because one, Lorcan and Burch are fantastic.
Yeah, they are.
And they deserve the light. It makes Dunne look incredibly strong, having these people at his command.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good place for Holland to be as well, because he can learn off of, you know, Dunne is obviously very young.
Yeah.
But Lorcan and Burch have been doing this for a good while.
The thing is, Dunne is young, but Dunne's also quite an experienced.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wrestler,
He's been doing this since he's like 14 or something.
So wrestling's a weird thing like that, where, you know, we look at someone like MJF, for example, over on AEW, and it's just like, these people, yeah, they're young, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're inexperienced. Because you can gain a lot of experience at a young age in wrestling. So yeah, no, I agree with you. It's all a shame, you know.
It's a bit weird. It's almost like the plan is for Dunne and Holland to be a tag team,
yeah,
and add to those ranks, rather than having, because I feel like Dunne's done that. I feel like it's time for him to maybe get that world title. So being a tag team doesn't really do a lot for him, even though he's fantastic in that. I think he should be further up the card, and I think having a stable that can occupy all four spots, or not all four, because there's cruiserweight title as well, but all of those spots
for sure.
And they're underrated talents as well, or you know, in Holland's case, young up and coming sort of thing. As
young
is Dunne,
up and coming animal.
He looks like a monster. But on the whole, it was a very good show. Really good show.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it. It sounds
very
like one
good
that I
matches.
should
100%.
I should go and watch.
Yeah, you should before tonight. You should watch it before whatever goes on tonight's one.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, a lot of good character work went into this one. A lot of good matches. The Mei Ying stuff is the only one I'd probably single out as not quite fitting in, but
that had to happen at some point, right?
I don't know. She could have just been a weird manager, I think.
True.
Because where's Xia Li gone?
Well,
they haven't mentioned that at all. Xia Li's just.
Let's move on now to to, I guess we could call it the fallout from All Out.
You stole that.
AEW Dynamite.
Yes. So again, kick it off strong. We have Dustin Rhodes versus Malachi Black.
I'm surprised this match kicked off the night, not gonna lie.
I think it was clever.
It was clever, but I thought it was going to be a little bit later because I was expecting a good match out of these two anyway. But I thought, oh, you've advertised this match. You probably want to save it for a little bit later on. But no, they went, yeah, we'll give you a strong match to open. Well done.
Yeah, it was a solid match. I would have liked Black to have a bit more of the offense in this match because Dustin's great, and this was set up to be his biggest test because how well versed Dustin is.
I mean, we know that Black is facing Cody in a few weeks, right? I'm suspecting that Cody will win.
God, I hope not.
But I think it won't be the Cody that we think of when we think Cody.
I really hope not.
And that's kind of why I think maybe this was a way to get Cody into a slightly different character, potentially.
Well, I mean, it was a way to write him off TV so he could go do his other shit. Yeah. I think it works better if Cody loses again and then has to evolve into whatever that other character is. Malachi Black has always and will every place he's been so far, whether it was NXT, main roster, or AEW,
yes,
could easily be a modern Goldberg, except he can fucking wrestle.
Yeah.
And should be treated as such. And NXT did. Yeah. NXT did a really good job of him. AEW have so far. I think losing Cody is the wrong choice, if that's the plan.
Maybe you're right.
I think Cody should fall to him.
I think, for if that's the perspective you're taking and that's where you expect them to take Malachi Black, I would agree. I just don't know whether that is the direction they're going, because if that was the direction they were going, I wouldn't expect to see him facing Cody again this soon. Do you know what I mean? I would expect it to be something that was later down the line.
I do wonder if it's just a more even contest. Cody looks like he's going to win, but this is where the House of Black debuts.
Maybe that would be good.
Because I don't care how it happens. Cody should not win that match.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of with you. There's just something in my head that tells me he will.
Yeah, I get the feeling he will, but he shouldn't. I think the right call is to have Malachi still looking strong, because it's what Cody has done against everybody else. He did it against Brody. He did it against...
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's literally the same thing. And losing again is a good place to start his heel turn. It's a good place to really screw him up. Assuming that's not what he comes back as, sort of thing. But time will tell. That's a couple of weeks away, so we shall see. I hated this next segment for a very specific reason.
Okay.
CM Punk talks after his in-ring return. All the CM Punk stuff is fantastic because CM Punk is great on the mic.
Yes.
I think Taz was drunk. So CM Punk's talking about what's next. He's talking about a couple of people he'd like to, get in the ring with and mix up with. And then Taz asks for a microphone. He stands up, and then it genuinely hurt to watch this, because I think Punk was genuinely confused. I think Taz really fucked this. Taz gets angry because CM Punk mentions Team Taz and some people in Team Taz. Where the confusion is he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't say he didn't say anything about Starks or anyone. That was weeks ago.
It was
That was in a promo or in an interview or whatever weeks ago.
Yeah.
So Taz is getting angry because he mentioned them, but he hadn't in that promo. So it didn't make sense. Didn't make any sense.
It was messy, right?
And it was horribly messy.
But that's the thing. So I'm not gonna. I think it's harsh to put this on Taz because.
Well, it was Taz. He fucked it.
Yeah, but did he, or was that just what he was told to say?
Well, it doesn't matter because the perspective of us watching it, he fucked it.
Yeah, I know.
Because we're not watching it as a production. We're watching it as this is the show. This is what's happening.
No,
we're
that's
watching
true.
It from these characters.
That's true. But what I'm saying is, we are, we are a little bit smarter than that. We know but we that this was a. Yeah, that's true.
Maybe
that's
he came in too early.
Yeah, that could be the case.
Maybe he came in too early. Maybe he was supposed to say something else that referenced, Punk talking about Starks and that beforehand.
Yeah. However,
he said he wanted to get in with Starks
I also would assume, because he was actually on commentary for this episode.
He was.
Did a very good job at that, I think. Mm-hmm. But I would imagine that whoever was in the headset on his commentary would have said to him when to jump in.
We don't know.
Obviously, we don't know, and I'm not saying that. The Taz section of it obviously went wrong. We don't know who made the mistake there, and whether it was bad writing, whether it was mistimed. Yeah,
it doesn't really matter what it was. Taz's bit sucked, but Punk saved it.
Yeah,
he was able to turn it. He eventually
uses Taz's own line against him. That was great.
Taz's quote. And my favorite bit of the whole segment is Taz, Hobbs and Hook come out and stood near Taz, and Punk just walks up the ramp and he's like,
"Yeah, whatever."
He just walks up past them and then fucks off.
However, I must admit, at the moment, I get why they're using Punk how they are, but it's just already not exciting me. Like they're kind of
when Taz got on the mic, I was like, I don't want.
They're kind of dampening the effect of Punk because of how they're using him, I think.
I don't know. I get it. It's some up and comers. It's some people that he's actually already said he wants to mess around with, like Starks and Hobbs.
For sure. But I just think there's also a better way to get to these things, is my thing.
Oh, yeah, there absolutely is. And the way that, Taz fucking up his line or whatever happened.
It's like really we've had the announcement that Punk is going to be a special guest commentator this week on Dynamite. And it's just like, why? Like, I get it. Punk's good at commentary and all that sort of stuff, but I want Punk to be Punk, not Punk to be thrown around just talking on a mic. And as good as he is at that stuff, I don't want it to just be that Punk talks on a mic, basically challenges someone to a match, has that match, and then just moves on and challenges somebody else again. I want actual stories built around these things.
Yeah, it just reeks of overexposure.
Yeah. And I just think it's not, like, to me, and we'll get to Bryan Danielson later, but the way they're handling Bryan Danielson is kind of the way that Punk should be handled, but at a different place on the card. Like, they're just handling it slightly differently.
Yeah, I don't think the Taz section helped this at all.
No, I agree.
So I think there's just a more organic way of doing it. If
why
Punk
not
had actually the easiest way to fix it is Punk actually mentions wanting to fight Starks, wanting to fight Hobbs.
Or you go the other way, and why don't you just have a promo where Punk sort of says, right, I've beat Darby Allin, who wants in the ring with me next? And then you have Team Taz attack him or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The
one thing I'm actually quite looking forward to with this is whether or not it cross sections with the feud between Starks and
Brian
Brian
Cage.
Cage.
Yeah,
So then maybe we get Brian Cage teaming with Punk,
that
which
could be
would
cool.
be an interesting thing.
I mean, I'm
Um,
always going to be interested in whatever Punk does because
Yeah.
he's still great on the mic. He is still, based on what we've seen of him in the ring, it looks like he can still do it.
Yeah, just slightly
I
differently than he
just
did before.
I just want him to be used in a different way than they're using him right now. Especially if
And I mean,
he
in
is...
fairness, we don't know how they're using him.
No, that's
This
true.
is only the second thing he's doing. So we
Yeah.
don't know how he's actually going to be used in this. This is just
Maybe
I
this is a
think
vehicle
Taz
to
is-
get him to the place of being used like a more regular wrestler, right?
Yeah, I think Taz's fuck up, however it happened, is the major issue with this. I think we'd feel differently if Taz didn't absolutely butcher whatever the fuck was supposed to go on there and just left
That's
everybody confused. Because even Punk looked confused.
That's true. Yeah.
But again, he saved the segment. He made it watchable. Otherwise, it wasn't. It was very, very awkward. But following up on that, we had Dante Martin versus Will Hobbs. So Will Hobbs was out there because he has a match next.
Yes.
This was a fine.
Yeah, it
This
sort
was
of
fine.
achieved its purpose, right?
Yeah, it wasn't quite a squash match because Hobbs got some offense in, Dante Martin got some offense in, but obviously Hobbs won because look at the man.
Yeah,
he's a freak. But it was just one of those after a disjointed segment. We got not really the kind of match that showed off what these could do properly. And
yes, yeah,
I wouldn't have put Dante Martin in this either because I think after his show stealing display a couple of weeks ago, I think he should be doing something more interesting.
I'd agree. Yeah.
But the match was fine. Like it was a good match. I would have probably just wanted this to go longer. To really see what these two could do with each other because I think they're both very talented. But yeah, no,
it felt like a filler match, right? It felt like
it did, and it was a filler match with a purpose.
Yeah.
It did get both of them over. They both did look good, and it did also lead directly from the Punk stuff as well. So it had purpose, but not must see. However, next we had MJF cut a "You People" promo, and
this was brilliant. This was brilliant,
glorious. There is no one as good as him on.
And there is something I really liked in this segment that we will get to in a little bit once you start explaining what happened. But yeah, this promo was great. MJF's great, and I'm excited to see what happens with him over the next few weeks.
Oh, I mean, I'm always excited to see what MJF does because I think he's just great. He wasted no time just fucking assaulting everybody. He crossed the line a couple of times. Absolutely, he crossed the line a couple of times, which led to Pillman Jr. coming out because he was a hometown boy. This, of course, taking place in Cincinnati.
And I'll tell you what, like Pillman Jr. after this segment, I was like, okay, this guy's got something. Like,
yeah, he absolutely does.
Like he did pretty well on the mic when he first came out. You know, it was a good segment.
Yeah. There was a little bit more of maybe Wardlow's going to turn on MJF.
Yeah, so this was kind of the thing that sort of really interested me out of this segment. I actually think this was almost like the hidden purpose of this segment, where it was, okay, let's get Pillman Jr. out in front of the hometown crowd. Let's let him have a moment. But obviously MJF sort of tells Wardlow, go over into the corner. He basically says, I don't need you, essentially.
And then he starts getting his ass kicked by Pillman.
And Wardlow does actually wait there for a little minute and doesn't really do anything.
Mm.
And then he gets involved, but then there's another moment where he starts waiting again. So it's like, it was almost like he was conflicted as to whether to help MJF or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was very clever, I thought.
He got involved, beat down Pillman, and then Griff Garrickson comes out and gets absolutely flattened.
Yeah.
Gets absolutely flattened. And then they both leave together, both MJF and Wardlow, leaving the baby faces to be checked on. Great segment.
And a segment that did actually achieve something, puts MJF over.
Yeah.
Teases the Wardlow turn, which is a good thing, because I think a Wardlow turn is a good thing. I mean, look at the guy. He can,
Yeah, I just wonder, we haven't heard him talk.
That's true.
So I do wonder how he is on the mic, but maybe he doesn't need to talk.
And also, as I said, I think this segment did achieve something for Pillman Jr. because at least in my reckoning, this is the first time that we've sort of seen him on his own get some mic time, and at least on a Dynamite, from what I can remember, it's the first time that we've really heard him, on the mic. And MJF actually made the point of, like, you want to go up on the mic against MJF, and it's like, that was a big thing for Pillman Jr. to do. MJF is one of the best on the mic that there is.
Yeah.
But Pillman Jr., sort of did his part very well. And
what we really need is to bin off all of this and just get to Punk versus MJF.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be fantastic. They don't even need to get in the match. They don't even need to have a proper match. They could just have a war of words, and it'd be awesome. It'd be great. Next up, we had Ruby Soho making her Dynamite debut against Jamie Hayter.
Yes,
and this was a very good match. It was a good match. I've really enjoyed this one.
I mean, I enjoy any time I see Jamie Hayter in the ring. To be honest, I'm very impressed so far.
Yeah, I think she's great. Ruby Soho looks great as well. She got big old pop when she came down. It was a solid match. It was another solid match.
I mean, I have a feeling. This is an early prediction, I guess, but I have a feeling that Ruby Soho's taking that belt.
I'm not sure. I feel like Thunder Rosa is destined.
What I would say is I'd put it this way, and we'll get to Bryan Danielson later, but one of either Bryan Danielson or Ruby Soho is going to win their championship feud.
Maybe. Maybe neither of them do. Maybe neither of them do.
Yeah.
But like I said, we shall see. Yeah, again, this was just solid. Ruby got to show off how good she is, that we never really got to see all that much in WWE because they're stupid.
I mean, whenever she was on TV in WWE, it was like for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
go out there and have a 2-minute match.
Yeah. Soho obviously picked up the win, but afterwards, Baker and the crew started attacking. She tried to hit a stomp onto the title belt.
Oh, yeah.
A cool thing to see. However, the odd duo of Riho coming out and then getting outnumbered. And then Chris Statlander also coming out with the
Statlander thing made sense because Statlander obviously had just challenged for the belt. Riho's
a bit odd. I feel like I've missed something with that.
Riho's a little bit odd. I feel like they can get away with it because they can sort of say,
some faces, yeah.
Former champion, big face, whatever. But it's funny though, because I do like Riho, but every time she comes out to do anything, I just think that these other women make her look like a little child. It's
it doesn't help the way she dresses either, because she does dress like a toddler.
So it's very odd. It's very odd.
I'm in two minds because this was a good match, no doubt. I don't think Hayter should be losing.
No, I don't either. I agree with
And
you. But
I do
also, neither
wonder.
should Ruby Soho.
No, that's the kind of paradox that they were stuck in. I do also wonder. I would imagine Hater is not actually going to be aligned with Baker all that long because
No.
she is good.
She and also the thing is as well, she's already proven she can talk, Hater.
Mm-hmm.
She's already proven she can do it in the ring. So I wonder whether we've spoke a lot about the women's division in AEW, but I wonder whether she is close enough. Do you know what I mean? I wonder whether she's close enough that actually she's more ready than.
I think by the time we're through,
by the time they go through
Ruby's
a couple of
done
things, right? Yeah.
Thunder Rosa's after that, apparently.
Yeah.
I think maybe after that, probably because she was good in her own right anyway. She's got a good amount of experience behind her anyways. But
and as JR would say, she's a thick
yes
woman.
I really wanted him to keep doing that because I thought it was hilarious, but he's not. This also does set up a 6-woman tag match, which comes on Rampage, which we will get to. Speaking of 6-person tag team matches, we had the Dark Order, which consisted of Evil Uno, John Silver, and Stu Grayson up against FTR and Sean Spears, with Tony Blanchard, of course, of the Pinnacle.
This was just to achieve the Dark Order thing, right?
Sean Spears got a win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sean Spears picked up a win. People, I don't think we know how monumental this is.
Yeah,
Sean
that
Spears
is an unusual sight.
Got a
for sure.
win on Dynamite. Outrageous. This does a couple of things. FTR are back.
Yeah.
And they're still going, which is sick because there was the maybe over-exaggerated worry that maybe that last match was going to be
the last
match for Harwood. Is it Harwood or is that the other one?
I can't remember which one's which. I never remember.
No, it's not. The Dax, because they swapped. He was Dash Wilder. He's not Dax Harwood. That's the other one.
Okay.
Confusing. Either way, Sean Spears got a win.
Yeah.
And again, I still think that this is building to a trios title.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think it is. And every week there's a new team where I'm like, oh, they'd be good as the champions. And this week I'm like, these three, FTR, and Sean Spears.
And that's the thing, right? With the trios titles that we expect to be coming, there are so many teams that can viably win those titles in that division that it might make it the most interesting tag division there is. You know, it's one of those things. And also, I think trios are another. Trios is always an interesting concept because I actually think thrown together trios often work better than thrown together tag teams. In the sense of like, you can have a tag team that just add one person.
Okay,
and it sort of makes sense. So something like the John Moxley, Eddie Kingston, and Darby Allin thing, that kind of makes sense. And they're a good team, and
because there's already a dynamic there. You just kind of have to fit another person in with that, so you can still have your, the tag team chemistry you already have.
I'll be honest with these trios titles, though. I don't really care who eventually wins them because there's so many good teams.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love it to be Daniel Garcia and 2.0.
I think there's some possibility. I would just love it to be Sean Spears because I'm
Sean Spears.
Well, no, obviously not just Sean Spears. Sean Spears and
imagine
FTR.
if he's that good. It's Sean Spears and 2 chairs.
That'd be sick. That would be sick. No, I just want Sean Spears to win something. He's so good.
He is great.
Maybe he's even not that fussed about it, but I think he's so underrated. I love Sean Spears. I've always got a soft spot for wrestlers who do like the simple things really, really well.
Yeah.
That's why I like Christian so much.
But also I think it's because I often have a soft spot for those wrestlers that you can see they're good enough where they deserve something and they've never been given it. And it's
I was so happy when he was like, oh yeah, the Pinnacle's a thing, and Spears is going to be one of the guys in it. I'm like, yes, because
then
like there was a
and then
relationship
it's
with
like-
MJF in the,
And then
when they
it's
were
like, oh no,
gambling.
Spears is just the guy who's in that group to lose.
He's the fall guy, but he's like, he's got a spot. He's on TV every week. Like, it's
Yeah.
cool. It was the same thing with like Eric Young
Mhm.
before.
Yeah.
Like, he got his stable in NXT and it was great, and then they fucked him over. But yeah, no, this further emphasizes the issues with the Dark Order, which may or may not be solved when Hangman returns, may or may not be solved when Bray Wyatt or Wyndham Rotunda, who is rumored to be popping up in
Fairly
the New
soon,
York,
right?
the New York show.
Mm.
Even though his no compete is a month after, but we did also hear about that someone has negotiated for a shorter one, and we haven't seen that person yet.
Okay.
So that person is probably Bray. Well, hopefully Bray.
Yeah.
Hopefully. And yeah, Sean Spears got a win. Sean Spears got a win. It doesn't do a huge amount for them because it was kind of obvious they were going to win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But again, it is just a subtle build to whatever, if there is even a trios thing. Again, solid match. It's FTR. It's Sean Spears. It's, you know, the guys from the Dark Order. All solid wrestlers. All do a good job. Next up, we had the Elite bit where the Elite reintroduce Adam Cole, baby.
Yeah. And Adam Cole gets in Tony Schiavone's face. I love that. I'm sorry, I just love that.
Yeah, great. He gets cheered. Everyone does the Adam Cole thing, and then he turns to Schiavone. Is like, if you even look at Britt wrong, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Get out of the ring, nerd. And he just keeps calling him a nerd, and then he's just getting booed. And I'm like, Adam Cole is just fucking so clever. So clever. He's a genius. It's fantastic. It's a great little segment.
There is something that surprised me from this segment. I'll get to it in a minute, but obviously Adam Cole's there and he's kind of saying you should be thankful for the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and all that sort of stuff. And he's saying that the Elite is complete. That's kind of his part of the segment. And then of course Kenny starts talking. I don't really remember what he was saying, but he was talking about how he hates interruptions. And then almost immediately
again Kenny without thingy is great. He's so much funnier. He's so more he's just so much more watchable.
Kenny doesn't need someone to talk for him.
He absolutely
right?
doesn't.
And that's
I think
the thing.
What is his name? I forgot his name.
Don Callis.
I
actually think he does do his role as a kind of Weasley manager quite well.
I agree.
But he doesn't need to be a mouthpiece.
No, I think he could easily be there as the guy in the background that's, you know, be the invisible hand.
Yeah.
You're not the invisible hand anymore because you don't shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He's not a good enough talker where
he's not better than Kenny Omega, right?
No, and Kenny Omega, he can do this character better on his own, as we've seen.
If Don Callis was talking for somebody like, I don't know, I'm gonna say like a Willie Hobbs, if Don Callis was talking for someone like that,
makes sense. Then.
Makes sense. Sure. Kenny Omega doesn't need that mouthpiece. But yeah, going back to what he was saying, he was talking about interruptions. What were you going to say, Luke?
Off to the side before that, I love all the interactions with the Elite and Adam Cole at the moment. All the stuff on social media is hilarious. They just posted a thing where they're catching Adam Cole up, and he's like, "So we're not called the Bullet Club anymore." No,
did you see the thing where Adam Cole? He obviously streams on Twitch.
Sure.
And he put out one tweet about a stream, and Kenny Omega replied with something, and he was like, it was basically a shot at WWE where he said, "Oh yeah, you can do that here" or something. It was really weird.
The being the Elite direct that came out directly after All Out was awesome as well. Like they're just so good at all the other stuff. So it was great seeing all behind the scenes stuff, but it's also cool that like the character stuff they do, like actually doing a seance for Adam Cole. And
Adam Cole is getting in the ring this week on Dynamite, I believe.
Yeah, against Kaz.
So
against Kaz, who he's gonna beat.
Yeah, of course he
Gonna
is.
be.
But Kaz is just there to do his job. Do you know what I mean? But yes, Omega was talking about interruptions as
Kenny
predicted.
Omega hates being interrupted, so of course he gets interrupted by Daniel Bryan.
Interrupted.
Bryan Danielson, fuck me.
So this plays into where I think I was most surprised, because I didn't think this would happen. Kenny tells everybody to get out of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny tells everyone to get out of the ring, and he wants to speak to Bryan Danielson. And Danielson obviously gets in the ring, and he just kind of snatches the mic from Kenny.
Oh, so good. I love that he's gone. He's not a heel, but he is.
I'm better than everybody else.
Well, he's doing that thing that he did against Brock Lesnar, against Roman Reigns, where he's just fucking with people.
Yeah,
like he knows how good he is.
Yeah,
and fuck you. I love it. He's just so cocky and arrogant.
And also I think the freedom of AEW in terms of AEW let the wrestlers say different things as well, right? Because they're not necessarily a PG product. Gives him freedom to add a little bit more edge to his character as well, which I quite like.
Yeah, absolutely. He's like an amalgamation of all of his characters.
Yeah,
he's just a perfect blend of all of them.
So he immediately snatches the mic off of Kenny, and he sort of doesn't even address Kenny. He's talking to the crowd, and he's sort of like, "Who would like me to to face, Kenny Omega?" And then Kenny, I believe, says something like, "That's not the way it happens," or whatever.
Yes,
and
that's not how it works here.
And then
Brian's just like, "Oh, so you're scared," which makes sense because you are not on my level. And then Kenny takes off his jacket. It looks like he's gonna square up. Doesn't. Goes to hit Brian.
Yeah.
And then Brian puts him in a label lock, a yes lock, which is when all of the elite come in, start attacking Daniel Bryan. And then
here comes Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus,
Christian Cage, who I don't know.
Frankie Kazarian was there, but I didn't even see him get in the ring.
I didn't notice until like the segment was done. They were all just standing in the ring afterwards. I'm like, oh, man, you're always late to this. Like, the weird thing, I think they're using him poorly. He's
as a quick aside. Well, this is what I was going to say. As a quick aside, for a minute, his character in theory is great, but he's like,
the idea of his character,
he should literally be the elite hunter. He should be,
like he kidnapped fucking
Brandon Cutler.
Yeah, he kidnapped Brandon Cutler, and then Brandon Cutler just turned up next episode like nothing happened. It's like, why wasn't that more? Like,
why didn't they do something with it? But yes,
because wouldn't it be funny if he's like, I got Brandon Cutler, I want a match with Ed, and they're just like, don't give a shit about Brandon Cutler.
So it quite surprised me that Kenny got everybody to get out of the ring.
I like it though, because it's not the typical heel that we've seen.
Yeah,
he knows how good he is.
Yeah,
and he's more than happy to go face to face.
And I'll tell you what. One thing is, we obviously knew a long time before. I think we all suspected that one of either Punk or Bryan before they came in was going to be put towards the top of this card very quickly.
I think we both agreed that it should have been Bryan as well.
We agreed that it was more likely to be Bryan because of Bryan's recency in the product, for sure. As I've said before, I mean, he main evented WrestleMania this year. So, that says a lot, because if WWE still consider him one of their top stars, that shows you how big of a name this is.
Like, he's still putting on like match of the years sort of thing.
And
like,
this
his
is
match
the
with
thing.
Roman was fantastic.
And this is the thing. This match between Omega and Danielson, whichever way it goes, I believe it could be one of the best matches we've ever seen.
It absolutely could. And it's one of those weird ones as well, where normally if you get two people that are this good, a lot of the times they just bounce off each other and it doesn't work for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That doesn't ever seem to happen with Daniel Bryan. And Bryan
because
Danielson.
He adapts to the person, right?
And it doesn't ever seem to happen with Kenny either. Like, even though him and Christian weren't the greatest fit, because again,
they fit well enough, right? They fit well enough to do what they needed to do.
People didn't believe in storyline that Christian was actually going to win after, especially taking the Impact title.
Yes.
But in match, it worked really well. this was just a great segment, and they're using
And also the thing about
everything.
this one is it's one of those that, as much as so many AEW fans want Hangman to be the guy who beats Kenny, I don't think anyone would be upset if it was Danielson. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I don't because
Absolutely.
it makes sense. Danielson is that good.
But then how much of a bigger deal does it make it if Kenny goes over Danielson and then Hangman is able to topple Omega?
Precisely.
I also think that we're not going to get a one-on-one match yet. I think we're going to get a blood and guts match.
I'd agree. I think they're probably pushing that way, but that's also fine. You know, it's.
And I fully expect that Adam Cole would turn and kick Kenny out at some point, which may coincide with Kevin Owens' contract being up.
Yeah.
He's been teasing that AEW.
Well, the weird thing is
going.
right now, and we'll get into this at the, I'm sure we've got a few more things to say, but there are so many people teasing AEW things now. Like,
Gargano's
so
contract's
many
coming
people.
up.
Pete Dunne has even teased a couple of things.
Is mad because he's so important at the moment. I mean, Adam Cole obviously was.
But I do think this is the thing. This is the praise to AEW is they're getting to that situation where I do think wrestlers are just going to want to be there, even if they're happy where they are.
Yes.
Like,
it does mean that AEW need to make a few changes, which I will get to when we get to Rampage.
Yes. So what was after this on Dynamite? Was it anything?
Main event. It was Jon Moxley.
Oh yes, of course it was.
Murder Grandpa.
Yeah.
Minoru Suzuki.
I enjoyed this.
I did. This. It was awesome. They just beat the shit out of each other. It was great. Suzuki
I don't know if we will. I don't know if we will, but I'd like to see at least some more of Suzuki just because he's great. Like,
if he's in the US at the minute, I would imagine we're going to see a little bit more of him because New Japan have the thing in America.
Yes.
And
this Moxley thing, that does seem like the storyline that's happening right now.
Possibly.
With him versus New Japan, right?
I honestly think this is leading to Ospreay. Because Ospreay, again,
that would be great.
He's just been chatting shit. We know out of kayfabe that he loves AEW.
Yeah.
But in character, he's just been chatting shit about AEW and calling them pussies and stuff. It's been fucking awesome, and I can't wait. Because both, for
as I said, the one that I really want is Naito. But Ospreay, I'd take. Ospreay
is in America at the moment.
That's the thing. Ospreay's the easier one to get to, right?
And he is
the guy.
He's the guy. He's the champion, and he's one of the best wrestlers in the world at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the most interesting in the world. But no, this was a very fun match. They just beat the shit out of each other. They were like it. It wasn't even a complex match. It was one guy would punch him in the face, the other guy would punch him back because they were just trying to one up each other.
But this is the thing. Why is it that whenever I see Minoru Suzuki in a ring, it's like obviously the guy is safe, right? I don't believe he's
100%.
But it genuinely always feels like he is actually fighting his opponent. No matter who that opponent is.
Because he borderline is. That's the thing. That's why you put him against Jon Moxley.
And it's like, and that's what I mean is like, Jon Moxley is very good at this type of wrestling as well, where Jon Moxley is a brawler, right? For the most part.
Well, he was coming into this having just won the GCW title.
Yeah.
So like that speaks volumes of it. And I think again, it is just to AEW's credit where it's not all cookie cutter AEW style, because AEW doesn't have a style. They are just, we've got loads of wrestlers with loads of different styles.
Well, it's like, I can't remember who said it, but there was either a tweet or an interview I was watching where someone said the thing about AEW right now, the thing that they have that arguably no other wrestling company has had for quite a long time is you genuinely don't know what's going to happen when you watch AEW. Because they have the different styles, because not everybody shows up every week. and all these sorts of things, you don't always know what's going to happen. And that is what makes it so exciting, right?
I think the key thing there is people don't have to show up every week. People can have a storyline, take a break.
Yeah.
So you get like a fresh intake of new people doing new things.
I want to give Tony Khan some praise here, because the fact that he has managed to create a situation in a company where he can give Hangman time off for his wife to have a baby, and and Khan said he would have given him time off even if they couldn't have done the Christian thing. They would have made it work.
Yeah.
But the thing is, because of the way AEW has built their company, and because you often have wrestlers connected to different storylines, even if it's not their main storyline, like you see scuffles between, like they planted the seed with Christian and Omega, for example, on Christian's debut, and that, I imagine, was almost a thing of like, that way whenever we need to use Christian for that spot, we can, because it works well enough.
It is the sort of spot he should have been in anyway.
Yeah.
Like he should be, like WWE are stupid. He should be that world title picture. He has the experience. He is good enough. It just wasn't convincing that he should be Kenny, but that's
I agree, and it's but it's one of those things where the fact that they've managed to build this company well enough that they can allow people to have time off for the
for whatever reason,
like for whatever reason, really, and also still make it work, says a lot about what they're doing, and I think it having people not show up every week means that they're not as missed when they don't show up, right?
Yeah, and it also just makes sense because you've got a big roster. You have other people.
However,
if you just use the same people every week, that does
lead me to another point that I'll talk about when we talk about Rampage. But I feel like I've said it before, but I feel like it's not going to be long before they potentially have a bit more TV time.
Yeah, that's kind of my point about Rampage, but in a bit more of a negative way.
Okay.
Last Rampage. Moxley does get the win over Suzuki because he's in his hometown. Obviously.
Yeah.
Give your boy a hometown.
Do you know what?
Win.
It's funny because I do think Tony Khan is such a wrestling fan, but I think one thing that he will never, he strikes me as someone who will never let somebody lose in their hometown.
Unless it makes sense. I guess if it's like a heel. Because like even,
if it's a heel who's bashing their town, right? Yeah.
Sure. Like I could imagine MJF.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Britt Baker obviously was a heel, was a face, and then now a heel again.
That was a weird situation because it was almost like they made her a face just to be in her hometown.
Which is dumb because they should have just kept it going because she's so popular.
Yeah.
So popular. But no, overall, solid show. Again, just like NXT before, this was a solid show. A lot of good character work. Not as many fantastic matches, I don't think. I think the matches were a bit more lackluster, other than the spots that we got to see. That
the main event was cool.
Stand out.
The main event
was, I think, the 6-man tag was good. Ruby had a good match, and I think the opener was good. I think more character focused is what this
for
was.
For sure. And at the end of the day, this episode did what it needed to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You need those episodes, especially after a big old pay-per-view like we've just had, where you kind of reset and you have to build again. And that's exactly what we started getting here.
But talking about good matches, let's talk about Rampage, because
yes, I still think they're doing this backwards.
Yeah, I agree.
This is the first time I've had a major issue with Rampage. So firstly, Pac and Andrade didn't even get entrances. They were just in the ring, and I hated that.
Yeah.
Absolutely hated it. Secondly, I thought this was the worst episode of Rampage we've had so far.
I'd agree overall. Yeah.
Not because the matches, I thought the matches were good, but everything just felt so rushed. Yeah. Everything felt rushed. Nothing got a chance to breathe. AEW, as great as they've been, are shit with an hour.
Yeah.
Only been
they
3
can't
episodes.
do just an hour, right?
It's only been 3 episodes, and the hour is not enough. They are not good in an hour on this.
I think it's partly because they're getting
They just
bigger
tried to do too
faster than
much.
but I also think they're getting bigger faster than they kind of expected to. In terms
I
of
don't know. I think it is just they're trying to cram too much in. I think there's things you could leave. Like I really don't think we needed the 6-woman tag match immediately.
Yeah, true.
But we'll get there. Regardless,
let's talk about this Pac and Andrade match
and
first.
Pac had a very good match.
Finish was odd.
The finish was
just because of what
sense.
happened.
No, but it made sense. I think I think it's one that, you know, because it should have been on a pay-per-view. It would have felt
on a pay-per-view. It would have felt
like it made more sense there.
Yeah.
But the finish comes when Pac has got El Idolo in the brutalizer, and there's no escape. He's in the middle of the ring. He's nowhere near any ropes. And then I can't remember his name, but the other guy,
the other guy,
trio.
Yeah.
Does it say his name here?
I'm not sure what his name is.
No, it doesn't even say his name. But
so the other guy who isn't Chavo Guerrero.
Yeah, he got up on the apron, and distracted the referee. And Chavo came in and smacked Pac with his iPad, which Andrade didn't see. He didn't know because he was in the brutalizer and he was damn near passed out. This led to Andrade picking up the win. And as they came out the ramp, Andrade was confused. He was like, how the fuck did that happen? Like, he was really confused. And then the other guy was telling him that Chavo hit Pac with the iPad, which pissed off Andrade, because Andrade didn't want it to go down like that. Andrade wanted to win on his own.
Well, this is what I was just going to say. So the one reason I did like this finish is I think it added an interesting dynamic to Andrade's character.
I think so as well.
Because what it did is it made him this heel, but it made him this heel who wants to prove that he's actually better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to cheat to win.
Yeah.
Which is quite unique for a heel, right?
Absolutely. If he's going to cheat, he is going to cheat. He doesn't want someone doing it for him.
Yeah.
So he punches Chavo in the mouth.
Yeah.
Leaves him laying there. The Lucha Bros come down and just kick his head off.
Yeah. I like Chavo though.
They just leave Chavo. He's gone from the looks of it. I don't know if it's a kind of Chavo is still with the group and he just has to prove himself. And this was just a bit of a punishment.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, because I'd be a little bit. I think it would be a little bit weird to have Chavo disappear because he hasn't been around that long.
It depends. It might have just been for a short-term thing.
That's true.
He might have stuff elsewhere that he's doing. Who knows? But I agree. I really like Chavo. I think he suits this role really well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Guerrero was left in the ring in a brutalizer for a good while. Yeah, it was weird. It was a bit weird, but it does make sense.
Yeah.
But it was also nice to see that it wasn't, haha, I snuck a win. It was, what the fuck did you do that for, you prick?
Yes. Yeah.
So next up, did we have any? No, we just had the stuff after that. That's fine. We then had, and like I said, I don't think this match should have happened so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We had Rebel, Jamie Hayter, and Britt Baker versus Statlander, Riho, and Soho.
This was one they could have saved for next week, right?
Yeah, this was. I really think they should have just waited on this. And again, I honestly think they've just got the whole show backwards. But we'll get to that. This was a fine match. There was just too much of it. I think there was too much going on. Yeah. I don't want to see Britt Baker and Ruby Soho going at it yet. I want Britt to kind of evade her.
Yeah, I agree.
Putting Rebel and Hayter in front of whoever's trying to attack her, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which would have made more sense, because then you could have Statlander and Soho versus, the other two, rather than having Riho weirdly squished in there as well. But it was a fine match. It was just, you don't want a 6-person tag match when you've got a big opener like that and a big story closer,
Yes.
because there's not enough time.
No.
There just isn't enough time, and there was too much to try and fit into this small amount of time, and it just didn't come off as well as it should.
Yeah.
It was fine. Like I said, I think it's just the wrong place for this.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree with you.
And finally, we had Pillman Jr. versus Max Caster as the main event.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck?
This
should have been the opener.
This is the thing. Ordering the matches the way they do at the minute makes Rampage feel like it is a B show, and they don't want it to feel that way.
Yeah, it does. But I also get why they're doing it in a way, because it opens hot. Even though it took away from that opening match. Because I think if the final, segment of Dynamite was seeing Chavo getting the shit kicked out of him after being dropped by Andrade, I think that's more powerful.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But Pillman versus Max Caster just feels like a dark match.
One thing
it feels like a dark elevation match.
One thing that it maybe says to me is maybe they have a push in mind for Pillman.
Well, it is to get him ready for the MJF match, which is coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was weird. This should have opened.
I agree.
This is just completely backwards. The rest of the shows I've been fine with the way they've ordered them, but I think it's just far too evident now that this one was the wrong way around. Obviously Caster loses.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously Caster and Bowens start attacking after the match. Griff Garrison isn't there for some reason, but the other homeboy, John Moxley, comes out to make the save, and then they play to the crowd because Pillman is also a homeboy.
Yes.
I think a couple of things are just abundantly clear now. I think Rampage needs at least half an hour. I think a 90-minute show would do them a world of good.
It should have an extra hour though. If they have their 2-hour shows, so this is where I want to go with it. One, they have a roster big enough that it makes sense, and you can get more people on the show every week without it feeling rushed. Two, I think that it allows you to potentially move some storylines along at a different pace, not necessarily a better pace, but you can. And, it's one of those things where at this point, their product is strong enough and they've got enough of a roster that 2-hour shows, I think, is more than doable, especially with all the storylines they have.
Yeah.
Because not every storyline shows up every week, right? And even if you only have one extra hour, you still wouldn't have every storyline show up every week.
No, absolutely. I think they can probably accomplish it with an extra half an hour, but I do think 2 hours is where they should go. Like I said, I think for a number of reasons, this was the worst Rampage we've had so far. I think
it's weird, right? Because
horrendous.
Because the Pac and Andrade match was good.
It was very good, yeah. But it was one of those. It was good because it was given the time to get good. The following match didn't get given the time to get good, and then the final match doesn't fit where. This is the other thing.
The Pac and Andrade match maybe shouldn't have been on Rampage, and what I mean by that is because that match needs time because it's a pay-per-view match essentially, right? So that match was always going to get given time because of that. So why not have that on Dynamite and have one of the Dynamite matches be on Rampage instead?
Yeah, I mean, I think in part it is to make Rampage feel important and not feel like a B show.
But they could have put Mox and Suzuki on Rampage.
I mean, they could have, but I don't think it really matters at this point because it's not meant to be a B show. It's meant to be a supplementary show. It's meant to be more.
Yeah. And this one felt like a B show, right?
This one felt like a B show. It opened like an A+ show or an A2 show or whatever you want to call it. But as it went on, it was just clear that this one wasn't. If it was flipped the other way around, and you take out that middle match because it just didn't have the time to
If it had
warrant
the 2 matches and the Pillman match was first, yeah, I agree.
And then you just you give the Pillman match a bit more time, and you give the Andrade match the time it had, but actually let them fucking come down to the ring.
Yeah,
because god damn, when they opened and they were like, "Hey, yeah, we're starting the match right now," I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
I do think it won't be long before Rampage gets the second hour though, because it is getting good viewership on that Friday slot.
I think the problem is they're treating it like they have more time than they do.
Yes.
They really, if they're not going to get another hour for a while, or even, like I said, even if they're not even going to get another half an hour for a while, they need to do better. Because it was too quick. Like the Andrade stuff happened, he took out Chavo, and then literally seconds after,
and I mean
right,
the thing,
the
thing is, as well,
let it breathe.
They do, but so I want to go back to Dynamite for a minute. Because they do this on Dynamite as well, but I think because Dynamite is a longer show, we maybe don't notice it as much. Where there are definitely things on Dynamite where they don't let the moment breathe. Big moments happen and it's gone straight away. Like
particularly with CM Punk at the moment.
Yeah.
Particularly with CM Punk. And it's slightly annoying me because it's like, I get it. CM Punk's there. It's a big deal. And this is chill out for a bit.
And this is one of those things a little bit, a few weeks ago where I said that this is why personally, in my opinion, WWE's production value overall is still better because they do let moments breathe. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, people don't like the camera cuts, but they always capture the right moment most of the time. There are some slip ups.
I don't really think the cameras are the biggest issue because I think AEW's camera work is fine. It is just the quick onto the next thing. It's like, let it breathe.
Yeah.
Just let it breathe.
Yeah.
You do not need to do this.
It's like someone is scared of running out of time, right? Or having to cut someone short. So they move so quick that they don't.
There's just too much to do at the minute. It's just overbooked.
The only time they gave anything time was Punk's debut, where I think that first time he came out, they would have given him however much time he needed.
I really think Rampage should be a kind of more specialized AEW. It should be, this is the point of this show.
Yes.
The point of this show is to build the Punk stuff. It's to build the Impact title match. It's to build Andrade versus Pac.
It should be the thing where build big around things happen, right? It should be
built around that one match or that one moment or something like that, and then fill the rest of the show, sort of thing. And to your point as well, having the second show, it does wonders because you can build on storylines.
Yeah.
But we're seeing it far too often already, where you're getting something happens on Dynamite and then something immediately happens on Rampage.
It's almost too quick.
Like the Soho stuff. Yeah. You don't need. I really think that match was too quick.
Yeah.
Because again, 6 people in the ring at once, you need to give it time to breathe. It's not 2 people where they can do their stuff and be out in like 10, 15 minutes.
Yes. Yeah.
6 people to do all the stuff and do all the storytelling and all the spots to make the match fun.
To give them the time they need to have to make it a decent match.
There just wasn't enough time.
And you certainly don't put it on a show where you're going to have a pay-per-view match. Do you know what I mean?
Like I've got no problem with that match, the Andrade match being where it is, because it does fill its purpose. It does.
People were tuning in for that match.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It does make Rampage feel more like SmackDown than it does Heat, as it was alluded to on Twitter.
Yes.
But they really need to flip it around because people will tune in for that first match knowing it's the match to watch and then fuck off.
Yeah.
You need to make that the main event. You don't put it out first. Billman versus Caster was a fun match. You want a fun match to open.
Yeah.
Put that first. Get rid of the middle match because there wasn't enough time for it.
I do wonder whether part of it might be because Rampage is still so new that they're trying to use the hot stuff while they're still getting new people in.
Sure, but it worked before because one, you can't put CM Punk last when they know he's coming out.
Yeah.
Doesn't work because they were just ruining the show. And 2, that first one, they had 3 very good matches.
They were all great, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Like it makes sense. Like it was fine to open with the world title match.
And that's the thing. That first one is still the overall
Because there was a
best
women's title
episode.
match as well.
Because you had the
Like,
women's title match as the main event. You had the Impact title match as the first match. And then in between, you had a great storytelling match, which was the squash match with Miro and Fuego. Yeah. So
we haven't seen since.
No, I know.
Apart from when he like dragged him out to the ring.
Yes.
That's good.
So yeah, no, I'm with you. They need to sort of flip Rampage sometimes.
I think they need to flip it, and they either need to be more focused and, like I said, have it like they did with Punk, and like they did, well, not necessarily the first one because that wasn't the case, but like they did with Punk, the point of it was CM Punk.
Yeah.
And then you had some added stuff to fill out.
Yeah.
The point of this should have been Andrade versus Pac, and that should have been what they built around.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And they should have dropped that other match because there just wasn't enough time for it.
And also, it's that other thing of like, I actually think that sometimes when you only have a 1 hour show, it's okay for that 1 hour show to have, just 2 matches. It doesn't always have to have 3.
Look at it like this. 2 of the best rules that have happened in recent memory was gauntlet matches.
Yeah.
And the whole show was revolved around just a gauntlet match.
Yes.
And it worked because they told the story well. You had the Seth Rollins one, and then you had this tag team one not too long ago.
Yes.
Have Rampage be that.
Yeah.
You have a specific thing to say and do with this episode, and then you can throw in some short matches in there.
Doing what they do with Rampage is fine if they know that they're getting a second hour, but wait until you get that second hour to do it. Wait until, do you know what I mean? It's when you've only got an hour. I don't know how NXT did it because they did, and they did it very, very well.
Well, they weren't beholden to a network. They were just on the WWE network.
For sure. But what I mean is the pacing of their show never felt weird. The placement of their matches never felt weird.
Sure.
So it can be done.
Yeah,
I just think that so far AEW aren't very good at it.
I think this is the first one where it really hurt the show. I think the other 2 were good.
Yeah.
I think this is the first.
The thing with the other 2 is, so let's give them credit. With the other 2, as you said earlier, they made the right decisions.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, having Britt Baker main event the first one in her hometown made sense. Having CM Punk come out first is the only thing you could have done.
Without ruining the rest of the show, yeah.
Yeah. And therefore that made a ton of sense.
Yeah.
And then you have
2 out of 3 ain't bad, but this is a trend that needs to get nipped in the butt. It's like, cool, it was an interesting quirk having the best show, having the best match go on first, but now you need to flip it. You need to build around that best match. You need to build around the point.
And also, you can still have some episodes where the best match is first, but don't make it
because you can't always
predict every week that's going to be the case.
Yeah, you're always going to have someone that's going to steal the show, so you don't honestly know. But the reason to tune into this was Pac versus Andrade, and that should have been what it should have been built around, not coming out first.
Yeah. I agree.
Like it was fine on the whole. It wasn't bad. It was just poorly put together.
It sticks out compared to the rest of the episodes, right? Like it
sticks out compared to everything else they've done, really.
Yeah.
Because the stuff there was good. It just felt too rushed. It just felt really disjointed. And it took away from everything that was on it. I think Pac and Andrade got the time they needed.
Yeah.
But it should have been the main event. It should have been the last thing. And then the stuff at the end of that match would have felt more important and bigger.
I wonder.
Whereas instead it happened and you're like, okay, moving on.
Well, this is what I was going to say. I wonder if it is whether this episode is literally just one of those cases where you don't even change anything, but you just flip the first and last match. And that might have.
I would agree, but I would also take out that middle match.
Yeah.
Because there just isn't enough time for a 6-person tag. If they made it a 2-on-2, maybe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just had Rebel and JB Hader versus Statlander and Soho.
I mean, they've definitely done 2-on-2s before, so they could have.
Well, all of them, both other 2 have had tag team matches in them. But a 6-person, there just wasn't enough time for it to really get going.
Yeah,
it was good for what they had, But it just
So how do
you
you
didn't have
feel
time.
overall this week with all the wrestling, with NXT, AEW? How do you feel?
I think NXT was the best show.
Okay.
I think it had the best matches. I think AEW match wise was a bit weaker, but story wise, it did what it needed to do. It progressed and started new things where it needed to, even if the Taz stuff was the worst part of the week.
Yes.
I think I would love to know what was actually meant to happen and what went wrong, or if it went.
Imagine if it was. Imagine if it was that we found out that is what was meant to happen.
That'd be horrendous. Because I like even the way Taz was saying what he was saying, it was like it kind of was like he paused.
It was kind of like he knew he fucked up, right?
Yeah, because he paused a couple of times. He was like, "Oh shit, I've jumped ahead," or like I've missed a line, or I've come in too early, or something like that. It's like he realized as he was doing it, something was out of order, or he just said something wrong.
However, it was worth.
But they doubled down on it.
It was worth it for that Punk line, though. When Punk,
all of the Punk stuff was really good. Like Punk did save the whole thing.
Yeah,
but they kind of doubled down on Rampage as well, because Taz was like, "Well, I was pissed because he said about this." He's like, "But he didn't though."
Yeah, I know.
He didn't say anything about anyone in Team Taz until you piped up, you fucking donkey.
However, I'll take Taz on commentary every week, please.
I would take Taz on commentary every week. I would take Mark Henry off of commentary because again, I think he's just fantastic at the interviewee.
Yeah, like that's
the end.
Like that's not even a criticism of Mark Henry.
JR seems to be getting a bit better.
Yeah.
He seems to be in a bit of a rhythm at the moment.
Do you know what? Particularly on Dynamite, I don't know whether it was just because he worked with Taz better than he does with Excalibur, maybe. I don't know.
If you're going to do a 3-man,
but
Taz, Excalibur, JR.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you take JR off and only have him
be for the big things, right?
Yeah, on the pay-per-views, which I think you should, because I think that's what JR should be. He should be an occasion.
JR is special. People know he's special, and he can still do it. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But it should feel special when he's doing it, right?
I think it is just one of those, like with wrestling. You don't want to see the same people all the time. I think JR's done his work.
Yeah.
Let the dude, come in.
Let him have a rest.
Let him come in for like the occasional big match on Dynamite or Rampage. Let him come in for the pay-per-views. And then elevate someone.
Yeah, I agree.
Have someone else come in.
I agree.
Get Mauro Ranallo, get Todd Campbell.
To be honest, I almost think that they've actually got too many people who are good at commentary, and that's like
you don't need 4 people. You don't need 4 people on commentary.
What I mean by that is like you've got Taz, who is excellent at commentary. He's their
best commentator.
You've got Tony Schiavone, who can definitely still do it. You've got Excalibur, who I like. You've got, when Chris Jericho's done it, I've enjoyed him doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Paul White. Seems like he's decent.
Yeah, he's good.
And then they obviously do have JR that has, especially over the last few weeks, has proven that he can still do it at a very top level.
The trouble with JR, though, is you can tell when he doesn't care. When he doesn't care about what's going on. And it's tricky to get past. Which is why you only bring him in for the special occasions and the special matches, I think.
For sure.
And like you said, Taz is their best commentator. He needs to be on commentary more.
Yeah.
And I think even if he is still the manager of Team Taz,
he can be a
dynamic that can still
right?
Work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Heyman, Heyman when he was on commentary years ago.
Oh, that was a dream.
Like, he was amazing, but he was, I believe, for at least some part of that, still managing teams and stuff like that. He was still managing
that was during
wrestlers.
the invasion, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it's like it is something that can work. And I get that
especially when you've got like a 3-man, because then you don't leave someone on their own, but they're like, cool, I'll be back. Sort of thing, when he's got to go off and manage Team Taz and stuff like that. It makes sense. I think it's time to freshen them up and jig it around and just start perfecting certain things, because they're doing well everywhere else.
For me, I obviously didn't watch NXT yet. It sounds like one that I should go and watch, so I'll be doing that.
Yeah.
I was pretty happy with AEW this week. Like, I was happy enough, the Pac and Andrade match made Rampage worth it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It made
Even
it
if they didn't get their entrances. God, I hate that so much.
The Dynamite episode was more character based, but I am also fine with that because
You need that.
I'm a very story based person, for one. And when the story isn't just about the wrestling and it is about the characters, and kind of developing those characters and doing things interesting with those characters, that's interesting to me. And that's why I said about the Pac and Andrade thing. As much as I think the finish was a bit odd, it achieved something interesting character wise for Andrade.
Yeah.
And that's where they, I do think AEW are very good at that stuff. So yeah, I look forward to carry on, watching AEW and seeing what happens. I'm sure that, we will be in some form doing wrestling related things, but we don't know exactly what we're going to do yet because, as I said earlier in the episode, me and Luke, unfortunately, are just very busy people and we have a lot of other content we make, and we do enjoy doing this content.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got loads of stuff that I want to do.
It just takes us a lot of time to watch all this wrestling and do these videos. Like, what do we watch? Like, what is it? 5 hours of wrestling a week?
Yeah.
We watch 5 hours of wrestling a week.
At least, yeah. And that's, juggling full-time jobs, having
other content we make.
Yeah, Game for All podcast, and I've got my own stuff that I'm trying to do as well. And
so it's not necessarily that this channel will go away. It might just become something else.
No, and I mean, I we might just stick with doing once a week. We'll see how we go.
Yeah.
We'll see how we go.
But please, with all that being said, let us know what you thought of NXT and AEW this week. Let us know what you think of the show so far, because it would be good to hear your feedback. Because I do know a few people who have been watching the show, so I want to say thank you for that.
Nice.
And yeah, please don't forget, as always, we have 2 words for you here on the Pro Wrestling Power Hour. And Luke, what are those 2 words?
Please subscribe.
And we will see you next time. Goodbye.